Dear friends, welcome back to Nutigood HealthBook. Today, I want to begin by taking you on a fascinating journey through history. A journey that begins not in a modern laboratory, but in the fields of Europe more than 300 years ago. In those times, physicians and healers noticed something peculiar. Certain individuals suffered from what was then called the sweet urine condition. Their urine would attract ants and insects. It carried a distinct sugary odor, and these individuals were constantly thirsty, fatigued, and often losing weight despite eating well. We now recognize this condition as diabetes mellitus. Without insulin therapy, which had not yet been discovered, type 1 diabetes was invariably fatal. But type 2 diabetes, caused not by lack of insulin, but by the body's resistance to it, sometimes progressed more slowly, giving people a chance to experiment with remedies. One of those remedies was a plant called French lilac, also known as goat's rue, Galega officinalis. People brewed it into teas or extracts, believing it could ease the symptoms of diabetes. Indeed, French lilac contained compounds that helped lower blood sugar, but it came with a dangerous trade-off. Its active ingredients also carried toxins that could cause nausea, weakness, and even harm to the heart and nervous system. For this reason, French lilac eventually fell out of use in traditional medicine. Fast forward to the 20th century, when scientists began isolating and studying the active compound within French lilac. They discovered that while the herb itself was too toxic for safe consumption, one of its derivatives could be developed into a safe, effective, and life-changing medication. That derivative became metformin, approved for use in Europe in the 1950s and later in the United States in 1995. Today, metformin is one of the most prescribed drugs in the world. According to the American Diabetes Association, more than 150 million people worldwide take it every day. It is considered the gold standard first-line therapy for type 2 diabetes, recommended in clinical guidelines such as those published in Diabetes Care in 2022. But here is where the story becomes even more intriguing. Researchers are now exploring metformin not only as a treatment for diabetes, but also as a potential therapy for weight management, cancer prevention, and even the extension of healthy lifespan. This raises profound questions. How could a humble herb inspire a modern drug that is now being tested as a possible anti-aging tool? Can one medication truly influence blood sugar, fat metabolism, inflammation, and longevity all at once? And, most importantly, is it safe or wise for people without diabetes to take metformin in hopes of living longer? These are the questions we will carefully examine in today's video, through the lens of history, science, and lifestyle medicine. What is metformin? Metformin may sound like a modern innovation, but in reality, it has been around for more than 60 years. It was first introduced in Europe in the 1950s, and after decades of careful research and patient use, it was approved by the United States Food and Drug Administration in 1995. Since then, it has become the most widely prescribed medication for type 2 diabetes worldwide. According to the Lancet Diabetes and Endocrinology 2019, metformin is now used by over 150 million people daily. So what makes metformin so important? The answer lies in both its safety profile and its effectiveness. Most oral medications for diabetes either push the pancreas to release more insulin, or they reduce blood sugar in ways that sometimes cause dangerous lows, known as hypoglycemia. Metformin is different. It does not force the body to make more insulin. Instead, it helps the body use the insulin it already has more efficiently. This makes it a first-line therapy, recommended by international guidelines, including the American Diabetes Association and the World Health Organization. But beyond diabetes management, metformin has attracted global attention for something even more surprising: its potential role in longevity and aging research. A landmark observational study published in Diabetes, Obesity and Metabolism in 2014 found that individuals with type 2 diabetes who took metformin actually lived longer, on average, than people without diabetes who were not taking the drug. This unexpected finding sparked a wave of research into metformin as a possible health span extender. Metformin works at a cellular level in ways that go beyond blood sugar control. It activates an enzyme called AMP-activated protein kinase, or AMPK. Think of AMPK as a master switch for metabolism. When turned on, AMPK encourages cells to burn fat for fuel, reduces the liver's production of glucose, and helps muscles respond better to insulin. This results in steadier blood sugar, less fat storage, especially the dangerous visceral fat, and lower inflammation throughout the body. Researchers are now investigating metformin's potential to protect the heart, the kidneys, and even the brain. Preliminary studies, some published in Nature Medicine and Aging Cell, suggest that metformin might influence pathways related to cancer growth, Alzheimer's disease, and age-related decline. However, it is important to be clear, these benefits are not yet proven in healthy people, and large-scale clinical trials, such as the proposed TAME study targeting aging with metformin, are still needed. In short, metformin has grown from a trusted diabetes treatment into a subject of worldwide interest in the field of aging. But before we rush to label it a miracle pill, we must first understand how type 2 diabetes actually develops, and why controlling insulin resistance is at the heart of both diabetes care and healthy aging. Understanding type 2 diabetes. To truly appreciate why metformin matters, we first need to understand what type 2 diabetes is and how it slowly develops inside the body. Diabetes is not just a condition of too much sugar. It is a disease of insulin resistance. Under normal conditions, when you eat a meal, carbohydrates are broken down into glucose, which enters your bloodstream. Your pancreas responds by releasing insulin, a hormone that acts like a key, unlocking the doors of your muscle and liver cells so they can absorb glucose and use it for energy. But in type 2 diabetes, those doors no longer open easily. Your muscles and liver cells become resistant to insulin's signal. It is as if the key no longer fits the lock. In response, the pancreas produces more and more insulin, desperately trying to push glucose into the cells. At first, this extra insulin keeps blood sugar somewhat under control. But over time, the pancreas becomes exhausted, insulin levels fall, and blood sugar rises to dangerous levels. This process does not happen overnight. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, more than 96 million adults in the United States currently have prediabetes, meaning their blood sugar is already higher than normal, but not yet in the diabetic range. Left unchecked, many of these individuals will progress to full-blown type 2 diabetes within 5 to 10 years. The damage caused by chronic high blood sugar is profound. Excess glucose attaches to proteins and tissues in a process called glycation, producing what scientists call advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These sticky molecules accelerate aging by stiffening blood vessels, weakening connective tissue, and promoting inflammation. Research published in Diabetes Care, 2018, shows that AGEs contribute to complications like heart disease, kidney failure, and even memory decline. It is also important to note that type 2 diabetes is not just about weight. While obesity is a major risk factor, even lean individuals can develop insulin resistance if they carry visceral fat, the fat stored deep inside the abdomen. This is why some people who look slim still face high risks. Studies from the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism confirm that visceral fat is metabolically active, releasing harmful chemicals that interfere with insulin signaling and increase systemic inflammation. The encouraging news is that insulin resistance can often be reversed. Regular physical activity, balanced nutrition, and weight reduction all improve insulin sensitivity. And this is where metformin fits into the story. By reducing glucose production in the liver and making muscles more responsive to insulin, Metformin directly targets the root problem of type 2 diabetes. Diabetes. Insulin resistance. So when we talk about metformin as more than a sugar-lowering pill, we are really talking about its potential to improve the very foundation of metabolism, helping not only with diabetes management, but possibly with healthier aging overall. From herb to drug. When we talk about metformin, we cannot forget its roots, quite literally, in a wild plant that once grew freely across Europe. That plant is French lilac, or Galega officinalis. For centuries, people believed this herb could ease the symptoms of sweet urine, what we now recognize as diabetes. Herbalists in the 17th and 18th centuries would brew French lilac into teas to help those who suffered from constant thirst, frequent urination, and unexplained weight loss. The truth is, French lilac did lower blood sugar. Its active chemical, called galagine, mimicked some of the effects of insulin by reducing glucose in the bloodstream. But there was a dangerous side. Galagine was also toxic. At higher doses, it could cause nausea, vomiting, dizziness, dangerously low blood pressure, and even paralysis of the respiratory muscles. The plant's narrow therapeutic window, the thin line between helpful and harmful, made it unsafe for regular use. Modern medicine changed that story. In the early 20th century, chemists began studying French lilac and discovered related compounds known as biguanides. Some were too toxic for humans, but one in particular stood out: metformin. By the mid-1950s, clinical trials in Europe demonstrated that metformin could effectively lower blood sugar in people with type 2 diabetes, without the severe side effects of the raw herb. It was first marketed in France as glucophage, meaning sugar eater. Over the decades, metformin gained widespread recognition. The UK prospective diabetes study, published in the Lancet, 1998, provided landmark evidence that metformin not only controlled blood sugar, but also reduced heart attacks and improved survival among overweight patients with type 2 diabetes. This study helped cement metformin as the gold standard first-line therapy. It is remarkable to consider how far this journey has come. What began as a bitter herbal tea, risky and unreliable, has evolved into a medication that millions of physicians trust every day. Today, metformin is on the World Health Organization's list of essential medicines, recognized as safe, affordable, and effective. And yet, the story does not stop at diabetes. Researchers have noticed that people on metformin often show lower risks of cancer, kidney disease, and even cognitive decline compared to those on other medications. This observation has opened the door to a new field of study: whether metformin can help us not just treat disease, but potentially delay the process of aging itself. In the next part of our discussion, we will look more closely at how metformin actually works inside the body, and why scientists believe it could have benefits far beyond lowering blood sugar. How metformin works. To understand why metformin has earned such a central role in modern medicine, we need to look closely at what it actually does inside the human body. Unlike many other diabetes drugs, metformin does not stimulate the pancreas to produce more insulin. Instead, it helps the body use insulin more efficiently, addressing the root cause of type 2 diabetes: insulin resistance. One of metformin's primary actions is in the liver. Normally, the liver produces glucose through a process called gluconeogenesis, especially while you are fasting. In people with insulin resistance, this process goes into overdrive, releasing too much glucose into the bloodstream and worsening high blood sugar. Metformin reduces this excessive glucose production. According to a review in Nature Reviews Endocrinology, 2021, this liver effect is the single most important mechanism by which metformin lowers fasting blood sugar. But metformin also acts at the cellular level by activating an enzyme called AMP activated protein kinase, AMPK. This enzyme is often referred to as the master switch of metabolism. When AMPK is turned on, several important things happen. Cells begin to burn more fat for fuel. The synthesis of new fat and cholesterol slows down. Muscles become more sensitive to insulin, allowing them to absorb glucose more efficiently. Inflammation in tissues is reduced, improving overall metabolic health. These effects explain why metformin does more than lower blood sugar. It improves what scientists call metabolic flexibility, the body's ability to switch smoothly between burning glucose and burning fat. Research published in Diabetologia 2017 shows that this flexibility is crucial for preventing not only diabetes, but also heart disease, obesity, and certain cancers. Another important benefit is that metformin does not usually cause dangerous lows or hypoglycemia, unlike some other diabetes drugs. Instead, it smooths out the blood sugar curve, lowering spikes after meals and keeping fasting levels steady. This makes it both effective and safe, especially for long-term use. Finally, metformin's influence extends beyond metabolism. By activating AMPK, it also triggers processes that reduce oxidative stress and support healthier aging at the cellular level. Some researchers even compare its effects to those of calorie restriction, a lifestyle approach shown to extend lifespan in animal studies. While we cannot yet say metformin has the same effect in humans, its broad actions on energy balance and inflammation have made it one of the most promising drugs under study in the field of longevity research. In the next section, we will explore one of the most dangerous drivers of insulin resistance, visceral fat, and why reducing it is essential not only for diabetes prevention, but also for protecting the heart, the brain, and overall longevity. Visceral fat and inflammation. When most people think about body fat, they imagine the soft tissue just beneath the skin, the kind you can pinch around your waist or thighs. But the most dangerous fat is often hidden out of sight. This is called visceral fat. The fat stored deep inside the abdominal cavity, surrounding the liver, pancreas, and intestines. Visceral fat is not just a passive storage site. It acts like a living organ, releasing hormones and inflammatory chemicals that disrupt the body's delicate balance. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Investigation, 2019, shows that visceral fat secretes cytokines, molecules that trigger chronic low-grade inflammation throughout the body. This inflammation interferes with insulin signaling, worsening resistance and pushing blood sugar higher. This is why even individuals who appear lean on the outside can still develop type 2 diabetes if they carry excess visceral fat. Doctors sometimes call this condition TOFI, thin on the outside, fat on the inside. Studies in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology confirm that people with higher levels of visceral fat face significantly greater risks of diabetes, heart disease, and even dementia, regardless of their overall body weight. Visceral fat is especially common in people of Asian descent, where genetics favor abdominal fat storage even at relatively low body mass indexes. This may explain why type 2 diabetes often appears at younger ages and lower weights in these populations. Here is where metformin plays an important role. By improving insulin sensitivity and lowering excess insulin levels, metformin helps reduce fat storage, particularly in the abdominal area. Clinical trials, such as the Diabetes Prevention Program, DPP, published in the New England Journal of Medicine 2002, demonstrated that metformin reduced the risk of developing type 2 diabetes by 31% in people with prediabetes, an effect strongly linked to improvements in visceral fat and insulin resistance. But while medication helps, lifestyle remains the cornerstone. Regular exercise, especially walking and resistance training, directly reduces visceral fat. A study in Obesity Reviews 2020 found that even 150 minutes of moderate activity per week led to significant decreases in abdominal fat, regardless of weight loss elsewhere in the body. Combined with a diet rich in vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins, these choices create a metabolic environment that resists diabetes and chronic disease. Visceral fat does more than threaten blood sugar. It accelerates aging. It inflames blood vessels, damages the heart, strains the kidneys, and disrupts brain function. Reducing it may be one of the single most powerful steps anyone can take for longevity. In the next section, we will explore how metformin interacts not just with fat and blood sugar, but also with the gut microbiome and the cellular pathways of aging, areas of research that are opening new doors in the science of healthy lifespan. Metformin, the gut, and aging pathways. Over the past decade, scientists have discovered that metformin's benefits extend far beyond lowering blood sugar. One of the most fascinating areas of research involves its impact on the gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria living in your digestive tract. Your gut bacteria are not just passive passengers. They influence how you digest food, how your immune system functions, and even how much inflammation is present in your body. Studies published in Cell Metabolism, 2017, found that metformin changes the composition of the gut microbiome, increasing the abundance of beneficial species such as Akkermansia mucinifera. This bacterium strengthens the gut barrier, reduces leakage of toxins into the bloodstream, and lowers systemic inflammation, all of which improve insulin sensitivity. By protecting the gut, metformin indirectly protects the entire body. Chronic inflammation is a key driver of diseases like heart disease, kidney disease, Alzheimer's, and cancer. By calming inflammation at its source, the microbiome, metformin may help reduce risks far beyond diabetes. Another remarkable effect of metformin is its influence on nutrient-sensing pathways that control aging. One of the most studied is called mTOR, mechanistic target of rapamycin. When mTOR activity is high, such as when people consume a diet rich in animal protein, the body grows and builds, but this also accelerates aging and cancer risk. When mTOR is suppressed, such as during fasting or calorie restriction, the body shifts into repair mode, recycling old and damaged cells through a process called autophagy. Metformin appears to mimic some of these fasting effects. Research in Nature Communications, 2016, suggests that by activating AMPK and lowering mTOR activity, metformin promotes autophagy, reduces oxidative stress, and may extend health span. In animal studies, mice given metformin lived longer, with lower rates of cancer and cognitive decline. However, it is important to emphasize that these effects in humans remain unproven. The much-anticipated TAME trial, targeting aging with metformin, was designed to test whether metformin can extend health span in older adults without diabetes. Although it has been delayed due to funding, it represents one of the most ambitious attempts to study a drug for aging itself. So while the headlines about metformin as a longevity pill are intriguing, we must balance excitement with caution. Current science shows promise, but lifestyle, nutrition, movement, stress management remains the foundation of healthy aging. Metformin may one day play a role as a supportive tool, but it is not a substitute for healthy daily choices. In the next section, we will turn to an honest discussion about metformin's limitations and risks, because no drug, no matter how promising, is free of downsides. Important limitations and risks. At this point, it may be tempting to see metformin as a miracle drug. After all, it lowers blood sugar, reduces inflammation, influences the gut microbiome, and may even affect pathways of aging. But as with any medication, it is important to take a balanced view. Metformin has limitations, and it does carry risks. First, metformin does not cure diabetes. It helps manage the condition, but if a person stops taking it without making lifestyle changes, blood sugar problems will almost always return. This is why doctors often say that metformin is a maintenance therapy rather than a solution. Second, long-term use of metformin can lead to vitamin B12 deficiency. Research in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism, 2016, found that up to 20% of patients on long-term metformin developed low vitamin B12 levels, which can cause fatigue, nerve pain, memory difficulties, and even anemia if left untreated. For this reason, the American Diabetes Association recommends periodic B12 testing for individuals taking metformin. Third, metformin can cause digestive side effects, especially in the early weeks of treatment. Nausea, diarrhea, or abdominal discomfort are relatively common, though they usually improve as the body adjusts. Extended-release formulations of metformin often reduce these problems. The most serious, but thankfully rare, risk is a condition called lactic acidosis, where lactic acid builds up in the blood to dangerous levels. This can occur in people with severe kidney disease, liver failure, or advanced heart failure. A review in Diabetes Care, 2018, emphasizes that while the overall risk is extremely low, doctors always screen for kidney function before prescribing metformin. Finally, the excitement about metformin as a longevity pill must be tempered by the reality that evidence in healthy people is still lacking. Observational studies have shown associations between metformin use and longer lifespan, but associations are not proof. The TAME trial, designed to answer this question, has not yet delivered results. For these reasons, leading experts advise caution. Metformin should never be taken casually, especially by people without diabetes, unless prescribed and monitored by a healthcare provider. As Professor Nir Barzilai, one of the leading researchers in aging medicine, has said, metformin is promising, but lifestyle remains the most powerful anti-aging therapy we know. In the next section, we will shift our focus back to lifestyle and explore why movement is the real medicine that no pill, not even metformin, can ever replace. Lifestyle, the real medicine. While metformin has earned its place as one of the most trusted medicines for type 2 diabetes, the truth is that no pill can replace the healing power of lifestyle. In fact, the most effective medicine for controlling blood sugar, protecting the heart, and slowing the aging process is something available to each of us for free. Movement. Our muscles are not just for strength or mobility. They are, in fact, the body's largest metabolic organ, making up about 40% of our total weight. When muscles are active, they act like sponges, soaking up glucose from the bloodstream and reducing insulin resistance. A study published in Diabetologia, 2017, found that even a single session of moderate exercise improves insulin sensitivity for up to 48 hours. Simple habits can make a remarkable difference. Walking for just 2 minutes after a meal has been shown to lower post-meal blood sugar levels significantly, according to research in Sports Medicine, 2022. These small, consistent movements reduce dangerous glucose spikes, which in turn lowers the formation of advanced glycation end products, the sticky molecules that accelerate aging. Step count also matters. Large population studies, including one in JAMA Internal Medicine, 2020, found that adults who walked at least 7,000 steps per day had a 50 to 70% lower risk of death from all causes compared to those who walked fewer than 4,000 steps. The benefits extended across age groups, proving that it is never too late to start moving. Beyond blood sugar, movement reduces visceral fat, improves circulation, supports brain health, and lowers chronic inflammation. Resistance training, even with light weights or body weight exercises, helps preserve muscle mass, which naturally declines with age. Preserving muscle is critical, not only for mobility, but also for maintaining metabolic balance. lifestyle also means nutrition. Diets rich in vegetables, fruits, legumes, whole grains, and lean proteins nourish the microbiome, reduce inflammation, and provide the vitamins and minerals needed for healthy metabolism. Reducing refined carbohydrates and added sugars directly lowers the burden on insulin. Together, these choices create a powerful defense against diabetes, heart disease, and premature aging. So while metformin can help, it cannot replace the benefits of daily activity and mindful eating. The most powerful prescription may not come from a pharmacy, but from your own legs, your kitchen, and the choices you make every single day. In the next section, we will draw these lessons together into a final reflection. What the story of French lilac, metformin, and lifestyle medicine can teach us about living longer and living better. A balanced perspective on metformin and longevity. As we reach the end of this journey, let us reflect on what the story of French lilac and metformin truly teaches us. For centuries, human beings searched for ways to control diabetes, a disease that silently damages the heart, the kidneys, the nerves, and the brain. From the bitter taste of a dangerous herb, science created a safe and reliable medicine, metformin, that has saved millions of lives. But while metformin is powerful, it is not a miracle. It manages blood sugar, improves insulin sensitivity, and may even influence pathways linked to inflammation and aging. Yet, it does not cure diabetes. It does not erase the damage of poor lifestyle choices. And in people without diabetes, its promise as a longevity drug remains unproven. Clinical trials such as the TAME study, targeting aging with metformin, may one day provide clearer answers. But for now, the evidence is incomplete. What we do know with certainty is this: lifestyle remains the cornerstone of health. Regular physical activity, mindful eating, quality sleep, and stress management all have effects more profound than any pill. In fact, the Diabetes Prevention Program showed that lifestyle intervention, losing just 5 to 7% of body weight, and engaging in regular exercise, reduced the risk of developing diabetes by 58%, almost double the effect of metformin alone. We also know that inflammation, visceral fat, and insulin resistance are at the root of many chronic diseases, not just diabetes, but also heart disease, cancer, and Alzheimer's. Metformin may help reduce these risks, but it works best when combined with healthy living. Think of it not as a substitute, but as a complement. So what should you take away from this story? If you are living with type 2 diabetes, metformin is a trusted tool, and under the guidance of your healthcare provider, it can greatly improve your outcomes. If you do not have diabetes, do not look to metformin as a shortcut to longevity. Instead, look to the choices you make each day, the meals you prepare, the steps you take, the way you care for your body and your mind. Here at Nutigood HealthBook, we believe that real health is not about chasing miracle pills, but about building sustainable habits that support your body's natural ability to heal and thrive. The true secret to longevity is not found in a single herb or drug, but in the balance of medicine, lifestyle, and self-care. Thank you, dear friends, for joining us in this exploration. If this video has helped you, please remember to like, share, and subscribe so that together we can continue to learn, grow, and live healthier lives. Until next time, take gentle care of your body. It is the only place you have to live.